That's
Yep.
when I look within and say, hey, for me, God, what we doing about this? How do
Right.
we feel? What's going on with this posture in this place? And that's been it. So that present-centered leadership for me is that place, going within. I believe the kingdom is within us. And
Right.
sometimes
Right.
we look so much for what's outside of
Oh,
us. But look within what we
yes.
already have. Nothing missing, nothing lacking, nothing broken. Look within and the power that we have. I was looking at these other leaders as if they had something greater, better than me, but they put their
Mm,
pants on the same way that I do. And they may have learned some things and unfolded on a different level, but it doesn't mean that I'm less than. And
no,
so
no.
that's the part for me realizing, wait a minute, before you did anything, the foundation of the earth, you were called, chosen, appointed, and you have power inside of you. Know your awesomeness, know your superpower. And
Right.
Christian, I'm speaking to myself, stop
Yes.
lusting over other people's.
Driven by purpose, fueled by passion. My words got power, my thoughts have action. Motivation, stay gracious. That's greatness. Be audacious. Motivation. Be audacious. Innovation. Be audacious. Inspiration. Be bold. Motivation. Be audacious.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast. It's always a pleasure to be here with you as we continue to maintain our goal. It's just simple but powerful, and it's to help you live your best audacious life ever. This is a space where we challenge comfort zones, celebrate courageous action, and explore what it truly means to live with purpose, clarity, and bold authenticity. I want to start by thanking you for spending time out of your day. Your time truly does matter. Your presence matters, and your willingness to lean into growth is exactly what keeps this community moving forward. Now, today's conversation is rooted in a powerful leadership truth. Authentic leadership does not begin outward. It begins inside. Think of leadership like a lighthouse standing in the middle of a storm. When the foundation is rooted deep and steady, the light cuts through the chaos and guides others safely forward. But when that foundation is shaken by distraction, doubt, and disconnection from ourselves, the light flickers. True leadership is about strengthening our foundation, aligning who we are with who we want to be, and becoming that steady signal others trust in periods of uncertainty. In this episode, we're going to explore, why authenticity is essential for effective leadership. How distractions quietly erode our potential. We'll also discuss what present-centered leadership really, truly means. Then we also will delve into the power of self-awareness and how it relates to individual personal growth. And then lastly, we're going to focus on why community and support are non-negotiable for sustainable leadership. Now, we're not doing this alone. I'm really excited about our guest today, Mr. Christian F. Johnson. He is a present-centered leadership coach, speaker, and author who works with spiritually minded, high-achieving individuals to destroy distractions, align with purpose, and fortify focus so they can operate in divine alignment without losing themselves in the process. Christian's mission is clear, and he really wants to help leaders look within, reclaim their authentic voice, and lead from a place of wholeness rather than that of performance. He's also an author, and his book is When You're Speaking But Still Silent. It's a powerful reflection on authenticity, identity, and the danger of leading while disconnected from your true self. His work centers on helping leaders step out of the misalignment, if you will, and into intentional, grounded leadership. Christian's relevance to this episode runs deep because, when we look at his journey from performing borrowed leadership to reclaiming his own authentic voice, it's a real embodiment of the very principles that we absolutely champion here, which is audacity and self-awareness mixed with courage and truth. So let's lean in, open up, and step into this very powerful conversation with Christian F. Johnson. Enjoy. Hey, Christian, thank you for joining me here today on the Audacious Living Podcast. I appreciate you for taking the time to be here, my friend.
Man, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for this invitation. Look, I am audaciously excited to be here for you. So thank you
Man,
so much.
That's the name of this podcast. We really do promote encouraging audacity, and there are just so many benefits to it. The idea of taking risks and being bold and taking chances and having courage, and there's so much good that can come out of that. But it doesn't happen until we're audacious enough to take that very first step. And so that's what we encourage here always and often. I know that specifically presence-centered leadership is your jam, if you will, and an area of focus in yours. And I said before we went live here, leadership is by far one of my favorite topics to conversate about. And I think the main reason is more so around the fact that it has such a potential for impact, right? And so here's an example. If you go, you can line up 10 people and all ask them to identify, their favorite leader. They will, without hesitation, I'm telling you, everyone will without hesitation identify their favorite leader. And if you ask them, hey, what was it about that person? Or what was it about that made them unique or impactful to you? You're going to get different responses. You're not going to get the same for all 10. They're going to be very different, and it'll be things like they listened to me, they included me. I was given time and space, things that we all can do within our within us. Like so, any of us can do these things, and so really it's around potential impact is why I'm a big fan of leadership and I love it. And so I want to maybe give you an opportunity to let our listeners know a little about the work that you do and what you're up to. I know you got a book. We'll certainly touch on your book as well, but maybe give an opportunity to invite you in to let our listeners know a little bit about Mr. Christian F. Johnson.
Man, I appreciate it again, and absolutely. We may get into what you said prior to hitting record because that's been on my mind. Just the value of leadership and the quality of leadership,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Everybody leads in some way, shape, or form. For me, that leadership goes in. For me, I help spiritually minded, high achieving leaders, especially Black and brown men, destroy distractions, align with God, and fortify their focus so that they can just fully live out their divine alignment without losing themselves in the process. So simplistically, I'm all about just destroying distractions, aligning with God, and fortifying focus. So if you will allow me to, on March 2nd, my life changed.
Okay.
Man, if you can picture this, right? So I'm coming off of stage, a platform from speaking, and I'll protect this person's name. So we're going to call him Bobby for now, right?
Sure.
So Bobby says to me afterwards, it's hard to listen to you speak anymore because it's kind of like you're speaking, but it's not your authentic voice because Bobby knows me, right? So Bobby was real and hit me in a way where I didn't realize that I had an unhealthy reliance on the voices of those who I looked up to.
Ah, that's really deep. Sorry, Christian. That's really deep.
I can look. I can be real. That's all I know how to be. So if we gonna go there, we can go there. But it's real. I mean, it's my life, right? And so in the book we'll get into. But that hits my heart because I realize that I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one. And the name of the book is When You're Speaking But Still Silent, because that was my life. I've been coaching for 10 years. But speaking and listen, there's nothing against coaching. I love coaching. I am a coach, right? There's nothing against reading and anything like that. But hear what I'm saying. When we don't know who we are and what we have, we come into that area where I have from mask messaging, mimicry, or misalignment. And I suffered from all three. And so I wanted, I wanted Tony Robinson's result, or I wanted somebody else's results or their success, and not realizing that I have my own measure of success and power. So anyway, that's just a little bit about me and my passion. And so who I'm graced to go ahead and share that message with and coach and walk and do life with. That's what I'm about.
No, I got to go back to that. It says deep, but it's really, really powerful. And I tell you, the idea of speaking and being silent it's profound, quite frankly, because I think we all we all have people that we look to, we admire, we appreciate, and in some instances we want to emulate or maybe take some of or use, and that's very different than what you're talking about. So I want to make that clear distinction because people can be like, oh, wait a second, I can't talk about it. No, you can take, you can glean, you can absorb what others are giving you, but you still have to have your own messaging, right?
Yes, sir.
I remember years ago, I wrote a book of quotes. I used to be really
Okay.
big on quotes, and I used to write quotes all the time. And the title of that book was called Gifts from Others. And it was essentially the words that people give us. They're the gifts. Now, what we do with them, we keep it to ourselves. Maybe we re-gift it and give it to someone else. That's all on us. But what we're getting from them are actual gifts. And those gifts we can use for ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or we can give them others and help others on their own personal journey. And so it's really important that we make the distinction. And we're not saying, no, it's bad to not hear what people, to take from people. That's not what this message is. The message clearly is you can take, but you still have to find your own authentic voice.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly, you hit it like 100%. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with the coaching. And I spent tens of thousands of dollars in the area of coaching, but I was looking for something in somebody else that I didn't see in me first. And I think that's the part that really hits my heart, that hits my mind when it comes to these things where, and that's dangerous even for when I have a client or something, we come in, I really want to take that time to look within, because it doesn't matter what I say and how I'm operating and all those things. You can't necessarily get my results. I've done marriage coaching. I've done, leadership coaching. I've done all those things. It's not about my result. That's why I love coaching, because really it's about asking some questions to help you align with your true self. And we should look at these other examples as showing me that I can do this. It's possible for me, but it doesn't mean that my result is going to be the exact same result that you're going to get. And so that's the difference for me. I wanted that, and I was disappointed, discouraged, all those thises that happens to it hit me in a way that I'm like, wow, what am I doing? And that self-pressure, brother, that is real.
Yes. Yeah. You that I can imagine that must have knocked you for a loop hearing that, like, and that put you on a spiral, like, because up until that point, my guess is, and I wasn't in the audience listening to you, my guess is you knew what you're talking about, you delivered it prophetically, you were resoundingly delivered your message, you were committed to the cause, you had the passion, all of that, and to come off stage and someone tell you, yeah, you weren't keeping it real. Whoa. Oh, wow.
Look, I know I was pissed. Let's just be real. Let's come from it. Okay?
I would be too.
No, listen. I'm gonna be real. So, and I didn't say anything in that meeting. That conversation lasted for about 20 minutes, but I'll tell you what the result was. The result was me shutting down. I almost gave up. I almost quit in the area of the book. It shares it. To this day, you can't find me on Facebook. You can't find me on Instagram. You can't find me on TikTok. The only social media platforms that I am on right now is LinkedIn, and you can find me on YouTube, because I also have a podcast pertaining to that. But I shut down because I was just like, wait a minute. If this is what I'm going to get when I share my gift with the earth, y'all can keep it. I'll go back to something else. But that still small voice inside of me was like, no, I need you to really sit with this. And once I got past the offense, the person was really operating in love. Beautiful. And it was hard to see that. Basically what I'm interpreting now in hindsight is, look, I appreciate and love you so much that I'm going to tell you something that can really shift things for you. And who would have known? I wrote a book from there, and now I'm doing what I'm doing now from that area. So that's my encouragement to any leader. Look, you may be successful with the biggest bank account in the world, but sometimes the brand that you're building and who you are aren't the same thing. And you find yourself in a disconnect, because now I've built this image, now I've built this place, but who I truly am is not that. And that can be stressful, because you got to keep putting on the show. Now we're in performance, not in the area of a present-centered living. And that's what I'm talking about.
And the problem with being in performance mode all the time is, it's first of all, it's exhausting as heck. It'll wipe you out like you wouldn't believe. And secondly, and maybe the second is happening because of the first, but you can't maintain it. At some point in time, you're going to slip back into who you is, right? And what you're supposed to be. And if who that person is in line with the performance, on the outside, people are looking going, who is that guy? Like, what's Christian all about? That's not that's not what he said last week. That wasn't what the memo told us. Now he's doing this. And the last thing any leader wants to do is be in a place where they're looking hypocritical. Because at that point, you've lost the audience. Yes, and if you've lost the audience, not to say that you can't regain them, but your work is 10 times harder at that point.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
So,
100%.
wow. Um, I'm sweating already, but it's true, man. Like this is a real topic, it's something that's powerful. I think, and I'll go back to what we were talking about before we hit record here, around the impact of leadership, and that's kind of why it fuels me, right? And the idea knowing that individuals who that leadership resonates with individuals because somewhere along the line, people have had not so good experiences with leaders. But
Yeah.
what that has done, at least for myself, it's given me a bit of a blueprint of what I know doesn't work. And so,
Mm.
so that experience, it was bad. I don't call it, and I use the word bad, right? It was bad. And maybe in the
Mm.
moment that's exactly what I felt. So I'm being true to myself by saying that. But when I
Yeah.
take that moment, similar to yourself, where you took that moment and look back, right? You look back like, wait a second, okay, so this is what this person did, and it didn't work for me. However, I now know what I can do differently if I'm ever in that opportunity. And you'll remember that. And so those are types of lessons that I think are important to have. But I want to go back. I'm rambling here, but I want to go back to the present center leadership. Could you define that?
Yeah. I mean, for me, present centered leadership is really just operating presence in the presence. Again, for me, I'm a faith based man. Okay. So all my principles are transferable. So you don't
Okay.
have to believe the same way I do. I am, and proud of it, pertaining to a Christian. That is my name as well. But so those principles for me, being present centered is being present and is present. That's being here in the now, but cooperating and co-creating with the divine. And for
Mm,
me, I felt like that was the thing for me, of oneness, of power, of realizing, okay, Christian, where are you trying to grind versus your grace to operate and be who you truly are? And there I realized again, there's present centered leaders. I love task. I was a director of operations for 5 years in an organization doing what needed to be done. And you can get to a certain measure of success, so to speak. But I
right.
found in the years of leading that there's a place where just my task and the natural can only get me, that I have to cooperate with something greater than me and
Right.
move forward in that place, in that posture. And for me, that has been the game changer when I tried to go with man's, which is again, programs and everything else like that. They're good, they're great, but that lack of alignment or resonating with it, that's when
Yep.
I look within and say, hey, for me, God, what we doing about this? How do
Right.
we feel? What's going on with this posture in this place? And that's been it. So that present centered leadership for me is that place going within. I believe the kingdom is within us, and
Right.
sometimes
Right.
we look so much for what's outside of
Oh,
us, but look within what we
yes.
already have. Nothing missing, nothing lacking, nothing broken. Look within in the power that we have. I was looking at these other leaders as if they had something greater, better than me, but they put their
Mm,
pants on the same way that I do. And they may have learned some things and unfolded on a different level, but it doesn't mean that I'm less than. And
no.
so
No.
that's the part for me, realizing, wait a minute, before you did anything, the foundation of the earth, you were called, chosen, appointed, and you have power inside of you. Know your awesomeness, know your superpower. And
Right.
Christian, I'm speaking to myself, stop
Yes.
lusting over other people's. And
That's right.
so,
That's right. That's right. That's right. And so one of the analogies we use on this podcast very often is about life being a journey, right? Life is a journey, and and we each are on our own audacious path. Right. And on that path, you're going to have your obstacles, your pitfalls, your challenges, the painful stuff that's going to hurt. All those things are going to be there. But it's important that you continue past that, because on the other side of those adversities is kind of where our greatness lies. So we talk about outlasting adversity. Now, if you bear this in mind, there's all these pathways, and each are on our own individual path doing our own individual thing. And I can see what Tom is doing, and I saw that he did, but what he did and what he did to go over what he got over was fitting for his path.
that's good.
Perhaps there's something I could use, but it's going to be different. So I think recognizing that individual pathway is a key starting point in this, because if we're and that's why comparison is such a dangerous thing. Comparison, it's a death trap as far as I'm concerned, because you could be comparing yourself to what others are doing and not recognizing that they're on an entirely different journey, going in an entirely different direction. And so as you were speaking, that's one of the first things that came to mind.
Man, that part right there, that my journey is beautiful, your journey is beautiful,
Mm.
but they're different, but they still can work together. I think of it the journey, but I think we're saying the same thing, but I think of it like puzzle pieces,
Okay. Yeah.
right? Like we all have a puzzle piece, and the key is to lay those things down so that we can see the big picture.
That's right. That's
Well,
right.
I'm messing around trying to be your puzzle piece and looking at your puzzle piece and
You
your
don't fit.
curves and your points and all that.
Yeah.
Come on, I miss what I am. Now I'm
That's
trying to
right.
shove my piece into something that doesn't
That's
fit.
right. That's
But
right.
there is a place for me that fits. And
That's right.
that's what
That's
I'm
right.
just committed to right now, man. So I
I've
love
got
it.
that.
I love
I,
it.
I've got that image of that circle shape, and I'm trying to bang that square to fit it, right? And I'm like, yo, it's not gonna fit. What's going on, right? That's what we're talking about.
Yes, sir. 100%.
Why do you think that this approach, this present-centered approach, is essential for today's leaders?
Oh, man. See, again, that disconnect that is so real. Where we are looking for everything outside of ourselves. I love social media. I love AI. I use it. I appreciate it. There's so many things out there that are happening. But sometimes we lose the sense of we're human beings.
Right.
Okay. And that part of being who we are and operating from that posture in that place. We have present center is reminding you to look within when everything else is encouraging us to look outside of us.
Yeah.
And again, like I love AI, I love everything I use it, but I use it as an assistant, not as a replacement for my own intelligence, my divine intelligence and my power. I may say, hey, look, let me do this or that, but help me to word this or articulate this or whatever the case may be. And so in this place and time when things are shifting in the world, things are
Yep.
shifting left and right, like it's a place of uncertainty for so many people. I feel like that's the place for us to really sit in and be look, and whether you fail or your definition of failure, whatever, like to me, that's not even that's obsolete right now. Like I want to lay down my head at night and say that I've cooperated with the divine and done everything I know to do. And that's success for me, which is that starting point. Everything else is going to flow from that place. But if I'm wasting a lot of time and doing what I'm doing, trying to get other people's results and situations, that's going to just keep me at that place of distraction. And that word, I use that way because that's power. Distraction, those disses, right? I'm disengaged, I'm dysfunctional, all those things. But that distraction, when you have the DIS removed, you have
Yes.
traction. And then when you take that TR away, then you have action. So anything that is hindering us from building that traction and aligning with that divine action, that's the part that we got to destroy and deal with. And that's the reason why I feel like in this day and time with so many distractions, call them what you want. Some people say spiritual attacks. Some people say it's distractions. Some people say it's this, it's that. Look, language can change, but the point is
Yep.
pulling us off of our center, and that can affect our what we're here to release in this earth for it to be
Right.
better.
Right. And then you follow that train of thought, it impacts leaders' ability to have the biggest impact on the people that are following them. Right. So it
Yeah.
just follows that continuum, if you will.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure. What do we do? I mean, I know I'm supposed to ask some questions in my podcast, but I'll open up the floor. Go ahead. What you got?
Appreciate it. So this is the thing that hit me. Have you noticed this with, I'll say, not younger, well, I'll for the term, because it just hit me. We flowing. I've noticed with some of the younger leaders coming up that being your authentic self, like they can sense that. Like it's so when we're leading a generation and we're not tapped into who we authentically are, before it was Dr. Such and such did this. Okay, I listen to him because it's doctor. Or this person has this many followers and that. Some of that stuff is shifting. They're really connecting and resonating with who you are, your story. So, have you noticed that? Have you seen this shift? I mean, you're interviewing way more people than I am in leadership. Are you noticing this pattern?
I can say it's been noticeable to me, one, but I do know what you're talking about because I have engaged in conversations where they're more focused on the individual, the humanity side of us, right? We're humans, as you said, right? And so it's focusing on that. But part of that is being able to recognize our humanity, right? So you hear, I remember when I started to hear the conversation about love, the word love in the workplace, right? And I remember going, how does that fit, man? Like love, we got a job to do. Like we got a job to do. We mean love. There's a space for
Right.
love. but it actually truly does fit. And in fact, it actually makes good business sense, because
Ooh.
if people are feeling loved and appreciated and valued, the productivity has to go up.
Oh, that's
You know,
good.
when you as a leader need something at the 11th hour, and these people know that you're going to go to bat for them because you care about their well-being and who they are as humans, and you turn to them and say, I need this, chances are they're going to come through for you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I think it's there. I love the way you framed it, because I'm not. I get funny as I'm talking more about it. I'm seeing what you're saying. I've never heard it that way, but certainly
Yeah.
from the angle of recognizing our uniqueness. You hear a lot more about inclusivity in the workplace, and then again the conversation about love. I think so. I do think it's there, and I think it's happening. Just the way you said is brand new to me. So I got to say that I've never heard it that way, but it is. It does
Mhm.
exist. In fact, I would say that it's. I don't think it's new phenomenon anymore. I think it's been around for a minute. I think it's being talked about more.
I love that. I love that you said that, because I think that's the thing that hit me because of the power of social media. Great and awesome, but there's also a lot of, I'll say it this way, things that are not accurate. I can go rent the biggest Airbnb and I can do some shots and do this and rent the car and make it look like I have this and that and do all those things. And then I come off screen and go back to my house with my mama in my apartment. So I mean, and you don't know from that area. So we're in the area of the appearance of fruitfulness.
Yes, yes,
And
yes,
so the
yes.
truth is there are leaders who have been leading, and that don't move them. There's a generation it's awoke. We're waking up. That doesn't move them. You're realizing that there has to be a spiritual, a beyond this area of what we're just seeing and flashing, that's connecting to this place. And that's that present centered place where you can't articulate it, but you feel it. You feel this conversation that we're having right now. And it's different because we're two people who are doing our best to live this thing out. You can
Yeah.
talk leadership for days.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the
No,
realness
true.
of it.
Yeah. Yep.
This
Yep.
this is the currency, I think. That's
Hmm.
why it hits me, because we're in times when you don't know
Right.
what's happening here and there. But the thing we
Yeah.
do know is our isness and who we are, and believing wholeheartedly in ourselves and what we have. Imagine the type of leaders that are going to continue to come forth if we stay in this posture.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Okay. So let's continue this going. Because so then conversations are happening now. We're in our own individual ways. We're showing what we think is the way to go, and we're giving that example. We're laying that blueprint out for those who are already out there and have put their inauthentic voice out there, like you did, right? Did what you
Yeah.
did. How do you reclaim that? Or maybe another way of putting it is, how did you reclaim your voice?
Thank you for saying that, because don't do everything I did. Remember, I shut down all social media, right? I went on LinkedIn with one follower, right? Right. But I think for me, the value was realizing, hey, whatever I'm trying to build, I don't want it to be this short one hit wonder. And I personally have three kings that I'm raising. I have twins that are 16, and I have a 11-year-old son. So I have three kings that I'm raising. And looking at that area, I'm like, you know what? It starts at home, and then we can
Yes.
come from there. So as I line these things up, I said, you know what? Writing, speaking, because that's where it came from. This book came from an assignment. I had a therapist that said, you need to start writing. And I started writing, and this came out of there. I realized this is who I have to be. I could chase the bag, or excuse me, money or whatever it is. I could
Yep.
chase it.
Yep.
I can chase the influence. I can do those things. But I have to live with myself and this legacy. And that part for me, it came beyond any type of product. Look, when your presence is the product, you got
Yes.
to show up differently.
Absolutely. And all the time. It's not just a Santa Claus one time a year kind of thing. It's got to be all the time, right?
Ah,
You
yeah.
can.
Yeah, I mean, I used to sell. My wife has a business dealing with custom apparel and different things like that in social media. We've made soap, body butters, all those things where the actual product goes, and that's nice. You know, I make this to you, I give it to you, cool. You come back, but when you are that presence is the product and you're processing, you have to be the best version of you. That's why this coaching that I'm talking about, we live present center, is holistic. It's all through it, right? We have to go through these processes. I live through 7 L's that I live through on a regular basis that I deal with that hits my heart and my mind to process. And that's like loving and learning, leading, language, life fuel. That's the part that's my weakness. I'll be real with you right there. The life fuel, right? Because I like to eat and it's not always healthy. And then those lift sessions for me. It's that area where this is holistic. And if I'm taking care of self and presence and looking within, everything else, my wife, my kids, the business, every area of my influence can take place. You know how many leaders I've talked to, coached, or been in discovery calls with who are doing amazing jobs, right?
Yep.
Just giving to everybody else. But the truth of the matter is what they're giving is only 50% because they won't take the time to look within to give other people to do the work to give them 100%. They feel like if it has to be, it has to be me. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do that. And I'm saying, no, look within and charge, lean into a community that can walk with you, talk with you. And this thing can be amazing because if I'm not duplicating and reproducing, then what am I doing? The message is supposed to die with me.
Right. No, that's right. That's right. It's not. And I love that, you have your clients that you can coach that can carry that message at the same time as going through their own journey of growth and discovery.
100%. 100%. That's exactly what it is. And so that's the difference in the posture. It really became, I'll say, ministry for me in a different way because it's like, okay, what am I to do? And I truly care. I'll tell you, my morning meditation, reflection, prayer time for like 2 weeks straight, all I was hearing in my mind's eye and my inner ear was care, care, care. I'm like, okay, give me something new. Care. No, get back to the area of care. Kind of like love, what you're talking about. What it's a foundation.
Yes.
Like if you truly care, like people don't realize I don't take a whole lot of clients because you're not getting just a automated program. You're getting me.
Yeah.
And so since you're getting me and I'm the one walking and talking and doing these things, like it's a different level of intimacy, so to speak, from that posture. Okay. And so that's that place where I'm seeing too, like we have to get to that place of truly caring. Because people can tell, or else you're just going to go for the cheapest product.
Absolutely. No. Like I said earlier, right? It's hard to maintain, and eventually wear thin, and people can tell. So no, I hear you loud and clear. So I want to use this to slide into authenticity and the power of authenticity. And I mean, I'm a big fan of stories and examples. And I wonder if you have one where example of maybe a leader who displayed an authentic presence, if you will. And it made a tangible, a real difference.
Yeah, I would have to have two that I would give you. And one's a male and one's a female. I have actually my pastor is also my father-in-law. So I would utilize him. And then also I have
you're Christian, you're really keeping on brand. Like a Christian whose father-in-law is a pastor. You're staying on brand.
Bro, I mean, yeah, I guess, 100%, right? If somebody listening, they want to pick me up on that, we can do something. We can do a contract, all right? But listen, so I would give him, and then I'll give two stories of this and smaller. But I'll tell you, the reason for me, it wasn't just his preaching and teaching. He's an amazing preacher and teacher. It wasn't just the area of doors that he's helped to open for me. It wasn't because he's done on that. For me, it's been his life of consistency and being and refusing to lose. Like for me, my biological father passed when I was about 5 or 6. I have my father, a stepfather, I call my dad. We don't do step because you step on steps. But anyway, but seeing for me a God-centered man, and I've watched him go through a ton of things, but still show up, enjoy, committed to the cause. That level of leadership for me. I mean, I've been married 17 years. He's got 30 something, and then going to their parents is like 60 something. I'm now seeing something that's different. That will forever be etched in my mind. That times you want to give up and do what needs to be and still pressing on. So that's another one. And then also I've had an experience, a unique relationship with who I'd call an area of a therapist who really became like a friend. And her leadership of what unconditional love and removing limited thinking, hands down. Hands down. I didn't realize how even in culture and Christianity and my race, all those things, how I had so much lower level thinking and didn't believe in the self and the God within to go to different levels. I had the excuse. Okay. So the
Right.
man, this, that, our background, bank account, all those things. And I realized that was separating me from the true power that I had. Those two people within other leaders, but you just asked me for, one, I gave
Yeah,
you
yeah,
two,
yeah.
have laid a foundation that I
Mhm.
can see in the earthly sense that literally all things are possible.
Got you. No, I see that, and again, it's even that statement. All things are possible. Uh, Adopting that as even a mantra, you've become unstoppable. Like
Woo.
you don't see problems as problems. You're like, okay, let's deal with it. Like you don't see that. You don't view the lens and how you see the world changes drastically with that kind of approach. I absolutely love it. Um, for leaders who I guess want to have a stronger presence or find their voice, are there regular things that they can do, tips,
Yeah.
practices, tools that they
Yeah.
can incorporate into what they do?
Yeah. If I can run through my rinse method real quick. If somebody need a pen and paper, write this down. If not, you can go back and pause this because I'm gonna let them flow. But I want to give them to you. So when I was anytime when I was younger, I had an irritation in my throat. My mom would say, "Boy, I need you to go ahead and get some warm water, put some salt in it." And she said, "Take that warm water salt, and I want you to go ahead and gargle, put that in your mouth, gargle, and rinse with it. Don't swallow it, spit it out." She would tell me that. I could preach that, but I'm not going to right now. Okay. So back to this, right? So the that became a synonym for me where R is recognizing what's distracting you from your divine purpose.
Okay.
Like sitting with that area for me. What is this distraction from? This is what I feel like I'm here for. And if I don't know what I'm here for, so forth and so on, that I is for identifying your authentic divine assignment. So taking the time to look in. Sometimes it's your frustration. Sometimes it's your passion. How did you get to the area of leadership, right? It's living the life. It's looking all the ins and outs. It's seeing where you're naturally, divinely wired and coming from that place of seeing what's happened from there. That end is neutralizing those distractions by starving them of the attention. And so for me, I
Mm,
believe that what you feed will live. So
mm.
if I'm feeding the distraction, it's
Yes.
living.
Yes.
If
Yes.
I'm feeding, what's good and right and powerful and loving, then that's what the part is. If I'm feeding my
Yes.
focus, that's where that's happening. That S for me is to starve what's pulling you off course. We talked about that, but strengthen your alignment. So I have to strengthen it, and it hits you in a unique way. For me, I love, love, love. I don't know if you have Wawa in your area, but in my area, we have Wawa. People have sheets. So I have Wawa. It's a blueberry muffin. Listen, that thing is my kryptonite right there.
Okay.
Okay. I
Okay.
will drive to 3 or 4 Wawa sometimes to look for that one place. But this is what I realized. How can I say, God, I thank you for this food I'm about to receive. Let it be a nourishment to my body. It's not nourishing, right? So now I'm feeding myself with something that it may taste good, but it's not good for me all the time from here and
Right.
there. I had to starve with that in line with what needs to be done. And I had to learn that in a unique way. And that E for me is executing from your divine center with focused action. That right there, we can think, we can read, we can sit with it, but we got to execute from that place. And that's where that superpower comes from. If you rinse and release what
Yes.
no longer believe, what no longer serves you, and you can
Mm,
rinse, like my mama said, switch that thing
mm,
around. This ain't for me. I'm gonna release that. I'm gonna recognize this. I'm gonna identify this. I'm gonna neutralize this. I'm gonna starve this. I'm gonna strengthen this. I'm gonna execute in this area. I tell you, what you release on this earth will be such a flavorful fruit that others will
mm.
say, how can I
Oh,
partake
that,
in that?
that's right. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I love it. I think the idea, well, I'm just spitting out, but that's not where we're going with that. But the idea of releasing it, right?
Mhm.
And setting it to the rest of the world and letting everyone else having an opportunity to feel, because that's the biggest part about all that you're saying is having people feel what you're sharing with them. And it's funny, I've got I'll share with you, I've got something that we talk about here on this podcast a lot called the bold framework. Much like yourself, BOLD is an acronym, and essentially it's the idea of living living your best audacious life. The B in that framework stands for better than yesterday. And so the idea is, you climbed this mountain yesterday and you got to the top. And when you got to that top, I hope you celebrated. I hope you're proud of your achievements. I hope you learned lessons. I hope you feel good about yourself and enjoy that, because tomorrow there's another mountain that's bigger and you can climb that one, right? So it's not always resting on our laurels of what we did. Yeah, what you did was fantastic. When I was in grade 4, we won our little league baseball championship. And I'm talking about that as a grown man, about what I did at grade 4, something's wrong. True?
You stepping on toes now. No,
right?
you step. Yeah.
So as we continue on that framework, the O stands for last adversity. And I think I alluded to that earlier, right? Like on our path, there's always going to be stuff thrown at us. It's going to come. It's not going to stop. And here's the thing: we're not going to get any advance notice. No one's coming to your door, Christian, and saying, "Hey, at 3:00, I got a whole bunch of bad stuff I'm dropping off for you. You're gonna have to deal with that, and let me know how it works out." You don't get that kind of note. It's coming, and you got to deal with it. The key is you outlast that and get to the other side. The L in that framework is, you're going to love this because it's in line with what we just talking about. It's called living your truth. We talked a whole lot about authenticity, your authentic voice, being who you are. Right? If you're someone else and you can't, that can't be maintained or sustained. And eventually, and it's important for leadership, but eventually it's going to fall off. And then you're even further behind because people can't trust, believe, or think anything you're saying is real.
That's true.
And then lastly, the D in that framework is called disrupt the norm, right? And it's encouraging individuals to not follow that beaten path. Go somewhere else. And I use the analogy of the Wright brothers, right? When they were building planes and trying to fly, just imagine the people around them who didn't believe in what they were doing, who thought they were crazy, who told them that flying is for the birds. What are you doing? And now flying is an essential part of how we exist as a society. So, and so if they had stayed in that lane of thinking and stayed on the same path as everyone else, look what we'd have lost out on. And so you have to disrupt the norm. So the idea is, if you are bold enough to continuously learn and get better and fight over obstacles, and while still keeping your authentic voice and breaking down your own barriers and doing your own thing, those are the pathways of living your best audacious life. And so I think when you think about and it's so applicable for leaders, it's so applicable for leaders in so many ways. And the piece around that I really appreciate is you can come into that framework. And you can start at the O. Maybe you are using, maybe you got the L mastered. You are true to who you are, but problems you struggle with, you can start there. But the key is recognizing where those entry points are and attacking them head on. So,
wow, you put them together and you have a bold rinse. Let's go. So for those who are listening, are you bold enough to rinse? Huh? Can we look? We can remove the excuses right now. We can go for this thing. Let's walk bold and courageous in this and rinse for release. Come on, man. Let's go. Let's hit the road with this right here.
I'm dropping the mic. I got nothing left, man. We good.
See you next week.
That's awesome. Man, Christian, this has been good. So for our listeners that wanted to catch up with you, we know you're not on Instagram. You're only on LinkedIn, right? You got a website for them they can go to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%, man. Yeah, man. You can find me on IamChristianFJohnson.com. You can find me on YouTube, like I said, for the Present Centered podcast. And I definitely need to have you on that podcast, brother. So we'll talk about that a different time. The book, you can find that on Amazon, When You're Speaking But Still Silent by Christian F. Johnson. And LinkedIn is Christian F. Johnson.
Before we go, I'd love if you could sort of identify so one piece of advice that you'd give to aspiring leaders who want to lead with more authenticity, more presence, and really make the biggest impact that they can. What would be if there's one thing you'd say, here's where you do, here's where you start, what would that be?
Look within. Really, I mean, it's simple, it's powerful. Look within. I had to stop lying to myself. I had to be real with myself. And I expect that nothing less from other people. And somebody, as you heard in my story, they did that for me as well. Sometimes we don't realize that when it's uncomfortable, we want to go ahead and just quit and do this and do that. But that uncomfortable, that's just a signal for us to realign. I go to the chiropractor, and the chiropractor, I go there because there's something that doesn't feel aligned in my spine at times. And so if you're in that season, in that place, look within. It's your body that feels misaligned. And you got to be honest about that. I can't go to the doctor and say, I got a headache and my back is really going, I mess around and get misdiagnosed with something, right? And make it worse. So look within, be honest with yourself. And I'm going to tell you to lead up, not look up, lead up. Okay? Because you are powerful. You are chosen with this purpose. You operate from a place of awesomeness. What you release is needed in the earth, but what you have to release has to be at the best, most audacious and powerful way that it can be released. So look within, be honest with yourself, make that right alignment, and let's lead from a place of power. And we are both cheering for you.
One thing I've oftentimes said is if, you don't know who you are, your life will make up the difference. I think of, I remember one day I was a friend of mine. And we were sitting in my car. We were waiting for the mechanics. That was. I drove to the mechanics. We're waiting for his car, and we were outside. And at the time, he was just talking about some people in his life that were inauthentic, and they were struggling with who they are. And it was a windy day, and there was a tree outside. And as he's talking about this, I'm seeing this tree and these branches kind of go back and forth with the wind. Mm-hmm. Now that tree was right beside a cement post. The same wind wasn't impacting that post. The post stayed firm and solid, but that tree was just kind of flapping back and forth. And I said, you see that tree? That's what you're talking about. You got to be rooted and stay firm. And if you don't, your life will make up the difference. And so that's that. So looking within is key. Thank you for sharing that, Christian. Man, I can't say enough about having you here and how much I appreciated your insights. You got me worked up, man. I'm ready to go. Like, let's go take on the world, man. That's the idea. And so thank you for doing this. Appreciate the insights. Congrats on the book. And thank you again for being a guest on the Audacious Living Podcast. Back we are here on the podcast, and I got to shout out Christian for being here and offering up a great conversation. When I think about what stood out most from our chat, it's a simple but profound truth. You cannot lead others effectively if you haven't learned how to listen to yourself. Christian reminded us that distraction is not just noise, it's misalignment. When we chase success without self-awareness, we create a performance instead of a presence. And leadership rooted in performance eventually collapses. Authentic leadership flows from within, not from comparison, not from borrowed identity, and not from external validation. When I think about our conversation, what I personally loved about our chat with Christian's vulnerability, he had a willingness to admit that he once spoke with confidence while living in silence, while living in silence, and that really resonated deeply with me, I gotta say. It really reminded me that even strong leaders sometimes lose their way, but audacity is choosing to reclaim your voice anyway. His honesty about shutting down, reflecting, and rebuilding from the inside out was really powerful, and it was real. It reinforced why this podcast exists, to humanize leadership, not glorify perfection. This wasn't just an interview. It was a reminder that leadership is a journey, not a performance. Now, if you want to connect with Christian directly, you can find him. He's got his website, which is IamChristianFJohnson.com. He's also on LinkedIn at Christian F. Johnson, and he's got a YouTube channel as well, Present-Centered Podcast. And I know, we talked about not having Instagram. He's actually reinstated his Instagram channel, so you can find him there. I am Christian F. Johnson. His book, When You're Speaking But Still Silent, it's available on Amazon. And of course, all the links for what I just mentioned are in the show notes notes below so you have easy access. Now, just like that lighthouse in the storm, your leadership light becomes strongest when rooted in authenticity, clarity, and presence. When you align with who you are, those distractions lose their grip, and the purpose sharpens its voice. Leadership is not about being louder than everyone else. It's about being truer than you were yesterday. This has been really a great episode. Again, Christian had lots and lots to offer. And if today's conversation resonated with you, I'd encourage you to like, follow, subscribe, and share this episode with someone who needs this message. And that's, of course, if you haven't already done so already. Your support helps this podcast to grow and helps this community expand and helps us continue to spread the message of audacious living. Until next time, keep living boldly, keep leading authentically, and never stop choosing your most audacious self. Because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more truth. Be well. Take care.
Driven by purpose, fueled by passion. My words got power, my thoughts have action. Motivation, stay gracious. That's greatness. Be audacious.